Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for being here on a Saturday morning. It's a pleasure to see you all. Welcome, Ankur. We have
Thank
only
you.
seen you on the screen and on our mobile phones. I'm sure we all live in this social media, world of social media, so it's difficult to miss you and your face. We just met a young man who just said he wakes up every day morning watching his video, basically seeing Ankur's face.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think somewhere, Ankur, you make us believe that you have a magic wand so to make people rich. Tell us about that. Do you have that? Is that
There
is
isn't
that the
any.
promise here that we will all go back after this half-an-hour session, at least feeling richer?
Hopefully
I'm sure.
more aware. Hopefully more aware. But firstly, I should acknowledge everyone. Thank you so much for showing up. It's a pleasure to be here. Kerala is such a wonderful place to be, and congratulations to all the organizers for pulling this off so impeccably. I was catching up with Anjana, and you're a veteran here, so you're almost showing up. And
Thank you.
certainly for this festival, you're totally back to back. You have a packed schedule more than the speakers, so it's a pleasure to be here. I wish there was a magic wand, because then that would be the easiest thing to do. Just give everyone the spell and boom, rich. It isn't. The good thing is it's really easy. The bad thing is it's really boring. And people wanted exactly the opposite. They wanted really, really entertaining, sexy, something which is titillating. And they're willing to go the extra mile to make that happen. And I'm reminded of a fascinating conversation that happened between Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. The two of them were the best of friends. And Bill Gates, in one of those conversations, is asking Warren Buffett, who is one of the richest people on earth, that Warren, your style of getting rich or making money is just so simple, which is pick a good company, buy their stock, and hold on to that stock for as long as you believe in that company. It's just as simple as that. So how is it, Warren, that not too many people are rich following the same strategy? Because it's such a simple strategy. And Warren laughs at that. And he says, because Bill, no one wants to get rich slowly. And that sums it up. I believe, and particularly the generation that's young, there is this drug in you that you want to get rich overnight, and you believe that there is a magic wand. There isn't. The best way to get rich is to actually get rich slowly. And slow doesn't mean that you'll only have money when you are down and about and you don't have teeth and limbs and whatnot. It simply means that you own your life in a way that you've lived it, you enjoyed it, and still you have enough and more corpus to take care of everything you wish to do in life, even when the income stops. I'll share more about that. But headline of the session, the best way to get rich is to get rich slowly. And trust me, it's a wonderful way to do so.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So this is the book that we have today. You will have to wait until January
29th.
For the release of this book, Make Epic Money. So he has already written two. One is
I'm
Epic
holding this for the first time in my hands, by the way. I haven't even seen
it?
I
Okay.
haven't seen the book. Thank you, Asta.
Yeah.
I haven't
Haven't
even seen the book. It looks lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, I can
That's
see that.
Asta, by the way, from Penguin. And they're the ones who are responsible for
Yeah.
making it happen.
Thank you for giving us this book. And I hope he will give us epic
Which I am
money.
told, literally, I can't open the page. I have to give it back to her, because otherwise I'll be behind bars or something if I give it to her.
Yeah, so this is still a coveted book which is not yet out, and you can all see it. Ankur, you've already written Epic Shit. That was his first book, and then Epic Shit Done, and now we have Make Epic Money. So there is this epic in every word, and shit is missing this time for whatever reason.
Make epic shit money, yeah.
Yes, but when you say, like, whenever we talk about money, we know that money is something very relative. It's countable, but it's very relative. What is more for me could be less for you, or
Yes.
it's different. So when you say make epic money, what is your definition of epic?
I love that. That's such a terrific question. And the answer is, it's your own definition. It is not mine. I didn't say make $1 million, because then that would be the same for everyone. I didn't say make a crore, because that would be the same for everyone. Make epic money truly will become your definition of it. And I'm baffled, Anjana, at how many people do not know how much money they need in life. Let's do a show of hands, irrespective of how old or young you are. Do you know how much money you need in life? Like, show of hands. And I need an accurate answer. Do you know that, sir? You have a good understanding? Great. So it's one amongst everyone sitting here. Everyone else? No idea? Because when I ask this question, I get two extremes. Either people are like 400, 500 crores minimum. Like, which is, I don't even know whether they know what to do with that money if they had that money. And then the other one is the complete extreme, which is 5 to 10 lakhs. Which is like, no, bro, you're not going to make that, like, your life cannot sustain on that. The reason why this number is important, and there is an entire chapter in this book devoted to how much money you need in life, and I made a whole video and an Excel sheet and blah, blah, is because we are all aimlessly, endlessly running after this thing called money. And we show up every day wanting to work really hard, be the best at what we do, trying to make ends meet, do odd jobs, side gigs and whatnot, to just run after this money. But you don't even know what you're running after. It's like running a race where you don't know what the finish line is. So you're just running. Every single day, you're just saying, okay, I gotta run. I gotta run. To what point, bro? No, I don't know, but I just gotta run because people tell me I have to run. And I say, you have to know when to stop. And when I say when to stop, that doesn't mean that you stop living life. When I say retire, it doesn't mean that you've stopped working. It means that you don't have to work for money anymore. You don't have to force yourself, drag yourself, pull yourself into a situation where you perhaps hate that job and yet you have to show up because you're running after money. So there are two lives each one of us have. The first life is when we hit the number that we want in life and that needs to be known. And the second life is what starts when you hit that number. Because that ought to be a very different life. And hopefully that also ought to have a lot more years attached to it because then you get to enjoy that money. And Make Epic Money hopefully is reaching to that point in a manner that you don't feel stressed, you don't feel stupid, you don't feel like I can't do it, you don't feel everybody else is doing far more than me or not. It is a personal journey that you undertake to take ownership of your destiny, at least when it comes to this one aspect called money.
Amazing. So I think the same way we all carry different kinds of wallets or bags. I think how much we want to stuff it is our choice.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. You know, there's a lot that we want to talk about money because we all want money and we have $1 million worth questions about money. But just before that, I want to ask you a little bit about your journey. I saw the video about NASA journalist and scientist. I'm so sorry. That's the wrong with. That's something that happens to journalists. You're thinking journalism all the time.
Everyone must be a journalist. Why aren't you a journalist?
Yeah. So from a NASA scientist, then you gave that dream up. Then you became a entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And then a content creator.
Yeah.
So I understand, and you spoke about the kind of failures that you faced as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So at that point, you realized, oh, I can't make enough money, so let me make content. Is that how it all started?
It sounds like it, but I'll tell you the largest gist for those who do not know my story, and it's totally okay if you don't. You haven't missed out on anything. As Anjana mentioned, I wanted to become a scientist. That was the only thing I cared about in life. Growing up, I was in love with physics. I loved the sciences and I wanted to be a space scientist working at NASA. I went to the US, do my PhD, and after 2 years realized that's not what I want to do. So at the age of 24, I completely changed my life direction, took a U-turn, came back to India, dropped out of my PhD program, much to the dismay of my parents, and started my life all over again, did an MBA program, then became a management consultant, and then after 3 years, became an entrepreneur in 2009. In 2009, becoming an entrepreneur was nearly not as cool as it sounds today in India. Back then, in 2009, if you became an entrepreneur, that means you didn't get a job out of college. So that was the only option you had. Today, it's like the cool shit. Oh, I'm CEO, bitch, and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just applauded in the world as if it's like the only thing that matters, and people who have 9 to 5 jobs are...
and the unicorns and the cool things. Yes.
I love how the country went from loving jobs to dissing people who are in jobs. They're like, you have a job, bro? Like, why did you sell your soul? You could have worked for somebody else, which includes you and your investors, whatnot. And in 2009, when I became a founder, it started a whole new journey. In 2011, I started the India unit for Groupon, which was a very large US company. And It was suddenly a lot of responsibility. I was not prepared for it. I certainly didn't have the experience for it. I was all of 31 years at that point. And I struggled. I struggled really hard. Most to find good quality people. Because it's just intensely hard to find good quality people when there are a billion people out around. So what I realized was the best way to find good quality people is if you attract the right kind of people as against going and hunting for them. And the way to attract them, in our experience, was why don't we just reach out to them directly through content? So it was in 2013, nearly 10 years back, that I started creating content on LinkedIn. And that was to attract the right kind of talent. And then I followed it up with YouTube in 2017, Instagram 2017, and blah, blah, blah. So a lot of the success that people see me as content creator in the last 3 years has been nearly 10 years in the working, which is, again, just the best way to, in some way, summarize, make epic money as well. Oh my God, he's a millionaire. He made all of this money in the last 3 years. No, bro. I've been at it for several decades. And that's what you see as an overnight success. And the mind that I have is that of an entrepreneur. So irrespective of what I'm doing, I love problem solving. I love working with people. I love giving them autonomy and driving them towards a common agenda. And I love bringing all of these things together. So whether it's content, whether it's a startup, whether it's anything else, the mind of the entrepreneur always remains. So it's very hard for me to answer who I am when people ask me, what do you do? I was like, how much time do you have? Because I could go on and on. But if I had to give a summary, I'm an entrepreneur.
You're not. Okay. Yeah, I mean, of course, listening to your story, it requires a lot of courage, to pick up pieces and, restart your journey in totally a different chapter in your life. So that's an amazing job that you have done. And I think you started off saying that go slow to make your money. And I think if we come back to that slow and go, the importance of going slow again, about his content, we all know him as someone who has 10 million followers across all social media platforms. But you started off in 2013 and he went slow, but he kept at it.
Thank you.
Great job. Ankur, you, in your book and in some of your videos, you always have this disclaimer saying that, see, I'm not a financial expert, so always consult a financier before you take these decisions. But all these wealth of knowledge that you're bringing to your videos, are you drawing inspiration or tips all from your personal experiences, your failures, and, your tried and tested methods of getting millions into your bank accounts? Is that what you're sharing with us?
If I may, and it's okay to read a few lines. Now, I'm really scared.
Where is the publisher?
Yeah, it's like, so here's how the book starts. It's dedicated to the rupees I wasted and the wisdom I've earned.
Yes.
Which is the dedication, and I love that dedication. And here's the introduction, the first few lines. Congratulations! You've picked the least likely author of a book on money. I'm not an expert. I don't have the right degrees. And my money history, pretty disastrous. I'm not as cool as Ramit Sethi. I don't know if you know him, but I quite find him cool. Not as articulate as Morgan Housel, who is phenomenal as a finance writer. Nowhere near as knowledgeable as Deepak Shenoy or Monica Halan, who are considered as the flag bearers of finance knowledge in this country. So if you're skimming this online or in a bookstore, this is your chance to escape, my friend. Put this book away. And that is genuinely from the heart. I don't mean to be like, oh, reverse psychology. Let's see if they really put the book away.
I was just about to say that.
No, nothing.
And it really works.
I'm hoping it does because it's the first
Yes.
page of the book. I'm not an expert. I shouldn't be here, certainly talking about a money book. And the only reason why I think people resonate with what I say is because I come from a point of authenticity where I'm like, I effed up. I have made so many mistakes in life that it's not even funny. And if there is one person that you can learn a lot from, should they be willing to share, it is the person who's made mistakes. Because they have a story to tell that hopefully you can avoid if you were to be aware enough. And that's my way of not just talking about money, but anything else in life. So I come from the dramatically opposite point of view of, I made a lot of mistakes. I'm not an expert. I'm learning just as much as you are. And if you are willing to hear, I'm willing to share, and we can make it a journey together.
Sure. Amazing. We are happy in a way that you wasted a lot of rupees, because some people say that the best life lessons are always learned from failures. So, that's what makes you special as as someone who creates content and tell us how to make epic money. I want to ask you about money as a concept. We all grow up, maybe especially in India, where people tell you that, money is not important. Money doesn't make you happy. So there is kind of, you morally devalue money. And, that's the ethos, values that you grow up in. And then, you are in the real world where everything, comes down to money. So what is your advice to, I'm sure there's a lot of youngsters here, what is the kind of relationship that we should build with money from a very young age?
I love the word that you use, relationship. So my first book, Do Epic Shit, the back of the book had this takeaway, which is 3 relationships that define your entire life. The relationship that you have with money, the relationship that you have with time, and the relationship that you have with yourself. These 3 relationships will define everything that happens to you in your life. And people are like, what do you mean in relationship with money? So all of you have had a very different upbringing. You grew up with or without money, or even with it or without it, you have a very different approach. Your parents taught you very differently. You were raised with very different values, whatever, and that shaped you up meaningfully. And you may not fully appreciate and understand the impact of that, but every single day when you think about money, spending it, saving it, investing it, giving it to someone, borrowing it from someone or from a bank, whatnot, there is this personality in you that is driving how you approach it and you feel within when you do that. There is a feeling. For example, I don't run after money. I dismiss money. And I've dismissed it almost all my life. What I realized, though, that dismissal also occasionally and often actually meant disrespect, which is not cool. I disrespected money. And the reason I disrespected it is because I didn't grow up with money, and I saw how money was really hard to get. And I felt growing up that all of the problems we faced as a family were because of money. So I hated money. And I literally felt like if I could, I would just kick money if it were a person. I would just abuse it and hurl it or murder it or whatnot. So I grew up disrespecting money to the extent I like, F you, I'm not going to give any respect, never chase you, never give you any attention and whatnot. Wrong. At least it didn't work out for me. I feel it's very important for you to respect money. People who say money is not important, they're lying because they most likely don't have it or they have a lot of it. But they're certainly not in the space where they understand what fully it means. Money does not buy you happiness, but it buys you a lot of things that can give you happiness. And you don't want to discount that. So I summarize it this way. Are you running after money or have you gone beyond money? And that's the distinction. Because if you wake up every day running after money, you most likely will be miserable. Your mind will be occupied by it. You will feel like it's the dead end. You will feel like it's the solution to all your problems. But if you go beyond money, you will actually enjoy money. I enjoy my money a lot, but I don't spend it on flashy cars. I don't spend it on buying houses. I don't spend it on things that most people may spend it on because they have a lot of money. We as a family, we love traveling, so we spend a lot on traveling. We love learning, so we spend a lot on experiences and learning through that money. But that's pretty much it. If I were not a public figure, people will not understand, ever realize how much money I have. But that's my relationship with money because I've gone beyond it. And I certainly know how much I need and how much I can dispense without having to run after that. So the distinction will always be, are you waking up every day thinking that money is the only purpose of your life? Or are you waking up every day realizing that once you have that money, there is a bigger purpose that you can serve, which may be happiness, because money does give you happiness. It certainly does.
Yeah. So we have to start young and building that. Rather than chasing boys, we should chase money at a young age.
And when I say start, when you say start young, like I was nearly broke at 40. And all the money that I've made, which is financially independent now, I don't have to earn ever again if I don't want to, happened in the last 3 years. So I often say this, please don't discount the fact that you can start any day.
Okay.
And how many of you here are in your 20s? Show of hands. In your 20s? Most of you. It's not funny how often I meet a 22-year-old who are like, my life's over. I haven't figured shit out. I'm too old. Nothing's going to happen to me. I haven't even started investing. And like, bro, what videos are you watching? Because if you were watching the right kinds, you're just getting started. Who told you at 22 that you're old? But every 22-year-old thinks that they're old. And every 40-year-old thinks that they're young as F. And that's the dichotomy of life, but it just happens the way it is. Start whenever you can. Because the day you start, you're ready. And that is the best day to start. Don't force yourself into believing that if you're 30 and you haven't invested ever, you can't become rich. Or if you're 40, you can't. You can. And there are enough and more examples of that.
It's never too late.
Never.
Okay, Ankur, so last night a book fairy came in my dreams and gave me a few lines from your book, which is not yet published. So I want to throw, some of these lines at you and tell me what does that mean. Explain it to us, because the fairy was there only for a few seconds, and I just got the lines, not the explanations.
I believe you.
Okay, so you say in your book, saving is hard, but being broke is harder. So as we see, there's so many youngsters, and we are not a society that's just conditioned to start saving from day one of when you get a job. Tell us how important is it, and how do you fight the temptations?
Sure.
Yeah.
So there are multiple nuances to this, Anjana. One is, so how many of you have been told to save? By whosoever? How many of you have been told to save? What are the others being told? I'm curious. I was expecting 99% of you to raise your hands. We're always told to save. At least I was always save, save, save. But I was like, what the F do I do with this saving? Like, you can't just tell me to do something and not tell me what to do with it. So when you save, what are you saving for? And what are you saving? Where are you saving it? And then the worst answer comes in. FDs. Like, save it in a fixed deposit, because that's like the love of this generation, at least the ones that our parents grew up in. Because at that point of time, at least, stability of return was extremely important, and we had all these scams in the stock market and blah, blah. I say there is one purpose of saving, and that is to invest. What are you investing for? You're investing for a time and day when you have really big expenses and your income alone cannot support that. For a time and day when you will not have an income at all and you'll still have to support your life, and you can't, or you perhaps don't want to depend on your kids or any other support system. You want to do it independently. And for any emergency that may come your way that you can't clearly predict. That's what you are investing for. And then people are like, oh, Brett, I'm in my 20s. I want to enjoy life, YOLO, blah, 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 and all of those 4-letter words. So I'm like, I'm not asking you to kill yourself to save. There is a method, and that method is very simple. It's called budget. And please make it the order of your life. And that means whenever you get an amount of money, you budget it into 3 categories. Needs. And needs are what you have to spend money on. You can't escape it. Your rent, your grocery bill, your phone bill, your food, your any other living expense that you have to spend money on. There is no choice. This is the bare amount of rent you have to pay the world to live. Then are your desires, and we all should have desires. You want to buy the phone, you want to go out, you want to travel, you want to buy that car, whatnot. These are not necessities, but these are things that you want to do with your life, and please go ahead and do that and budget. And then investing and saving, which is you park a small amount of money towards the future for anything that's big or eventual. And usually there is a split, 50, 30, 20. Yes. 50% of your money goes towards your needs, 30% goes towards your wants, and 20% goes towards your investments. I cannot begin to tell you how many emails I get from people every single day telling me just this 50, 30, 20 approach towards their money changed their life. And I'm like, oh my God, because in my head, it was so simple that I had second doubts about even sharing it with the world. And like, I don't want to share something that makes people feel like I think of them as stupid. Because you're not stupid. But in my head, this is so obvious. But for people, it wasn't. 50, 30, 20. And start from tomorrow. We are in the first month of the year. It's a wonderful start to the year. And may this year be the year that you change your financial destiny. 50, 30, 20. Simple as that. But when you begin to approach life with that discipline, you're shocked at how much you can achieve in terms of enjoying your current life, planning for the future, and also ensuring that you're financially independent, not just today, but forever.
50, 30, 20. I can already see my dad doing that mental math and thinking what are the mistakes he made. Anyways, moving on. So the second line that I wanted to throw at you is you say, having less does not make you poor. Wanting more makes you poor.
Yeah.
But wanting less also will make you unhappy.
Yeah.
Because we live in a world, just driven by consumerism. We want more and more and more. You open your social media, there's so many things that you want. How do you resist that temptation in this world?
So the opposite of wanting more is not wanting less. The opposite of wanting more is realizing something which is very powerful. And to illustrate that, I'll share a beautiful story. So Catch-22 is a famous book. And I don't know whether this story is real or not, but it's just floated in the internet and I'll just pick it up for impact. So the author of Catch-22 and a friend of his, they are attending a really rich friend's party. And the party is happening in this really fancy mansion along the beach side. Imagine something like this, but of course, millions of dollars spent to make it. And the author's friend says, do you know that this dude who is throwing this party is an investment banker, and he in the last month made more money than you did selling Catch-22, which is a bestseller and a classic, in its entire lifetime. And at that moment, the author of Catch-22, whose name I'm missing, says, but I have something that he doesn't have. And the friend is like, well, what possibly can you have that this rich trader doesn't? And he says, I have enough. And I love that. I love that. So the opposite of wanting more is not wanting less. It is to realize what you have is enough. And if you really think about it, to survive, to have a life which is surrounded by people that you love, is surrounded by good health, is surrounded by good people, is surrounded by opportunities, thankfully it doesn't require money. You do require money to go on to a new orbit, to change something that you aspire to show that you've arrived, perhaps to the world or to yourself. But to really know that you have enough, you already do. Most of you do. The fact that you woke up this morning and that you showed up to this place and you're going to meet such brilliant people through the course of this day, all for completely free, driven by the hard work of so many other people whose faces and names you will never see, that is a privilege. And we don't recognize that. We don't pinch ourselves. We don't think of it as gratitude. We just think of it as entitlement. But we have enough. And I often say that wanting more then becomes this sense of inadequacy, that there must be something incomplete in me that I have to fill with something that money can buy. But what is it that money can possibly buy that makes you feel complete? And ideally, it should be nothing, because you have everything that should make you feel complete. But if you are dependent on a car or a phone or a clothing item or some bracelet or some other Instagram post in fancy Italy resort to show that you've arrived, then there's something fundamentally incomplete in you. And trust me, no matter how much money you get, it'll always feel like that.
Amazing. Ankur, we have 16 minutes left, and I really want to throw open questions because a lot of young audience, I'm sure they have questions for you. But I'll just ask you one last question, which I thought is a very insightful line in your book. You say, money does not change you. Money will only reveal you. So my confession is money hasn't, I haven't revealed myself because I'll be sitting in a yacht in the Caribbean now and not on the stage. But what do you actually mean that money will reveal you and it won't change you? Just tell us a little bit more about it, and then we will open the questions.
Sure. So I love this line because I've experienced this not just with myself, but with a lot of people who have money and doesn't have. So a lot of people believe that money, once they have it, will change them. Oh, I've lived a certain way, but once I have money, I'll be a changed person. I will maybe give more, donate more, or maybe I will be more generous, or maybe I'll live life very differently, or I'll not spend it on these things, or I'll not gamble, or I'll not drink as much. I only drink because I don't have money, or whatever the reason may be. And invariably, that has not turned out to be true. If they did go on to make money, it's only made them a bigger version of who they were already. So if you were inherently a generous person without money, when you have it, you only become more generous. If you're somebody who's always been a miser, even when you have money, you will hold on to that money even more so. If there was a way for you to show that you had 100 when you actually only had 10, when you have 1,000, you will find ways of showing that you have 10,000. It just amplifies what your core tenet has always been. And that begs the question, are you waiting for money to change you or to reveal you? Because if you don't like what will be revealed, then you ought to change who you are and not assume that money will be the reason why it will be changed.
Amazing. I'm sure you guys already got enough reasons to pick up this book on January 29th. And now for the questions, please raise your hand, introduce yourself, and ask a question. I hope there's a mic around.
There are 2 questions here already. And 1 there, yes. So we see 3 of them. 4, great. That's all as I can remember. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. I'm really fascinated with your 50, 30, and 20.
I love the fact that at this age it still fascinates
Really
you because that's exactly my point.
But when you come to terms with money as a common housewife, I've found that the problem as most usually is this 50 encroaches into the 30 and sometimes even the 20 also you'll have to include. And you find it very difficult to make both ends meet.
Yes.
So that is the real problem that most of us face.
Yes.
Yeah? And that's where we say we are poor. And I think that is one psychological reason why we say no, that money is not important, because money should not make you unhappy.
Yes.
You can be happy in a very big castle. At the same time, you find very poor people also being very happy and laughing. So I find the secret of happiness may not be money, but of course money can bring many more things which you love to enjoy.
Absolutely. That's such a wonderful thought. Absolutely.
And one more thing that I've always read and felt also, not at your, at the youngest age, like sometimes, poverty, I have felt is an insult to intelligence, because it shuts out a lot of opportunities. Maybe you are, if you're wealthy, you could have you could have taken a break from your responsibilities, and you could have pursued the desire of your life and all that. But most often, the common man's problem is it becomes an insult to your intelligence.
Absolutely. And I summarized this, I read this somewhere and it hit me really hard. Don't ever make the mistake of assuming that all success is due to hard work and all poverty is due to laziness. And we often make that mistake. We often judge people and think that, oh, if only he or she would have worked hard, they would have been where I am. And because we don't know how to measure and quantify luck, we somehow just dismiss it. And it's crazy how if you were to sit down and truly ask yourself what worked for you to get you to the point that you have in life, you will be shocked at how much of that was never in your control. You didn't even get to choose it. And that's just very hard hitting when it happens. So thank you for sharing that thought. I love it. Absolutely. Thank you.
Next question.
Please, sir.
We request the audience
Good
to
morning,
use
sir.
brief words while posing questions.
Good morning. I am Dr. Manikandan. I am a dentist from Trivandrum. So I have read the previous 2 books of yours and most of the time watching
Thank
your
you.
videos.
Thank you.
So I want to ask 2 questions. So which was the time that you felt that so leaving all those things is important, and when you thrown your light into writing a book, first the thought come to you, And second one, I think in every books there is a word epic. So and you have mentioned about the making a relationship with three things: with money, with time, and with ourselves. So can we guess make an epic time as a next book also?
I love how you went there. I can't tell you what the other two books will be when the next two books are already decided, and they will be with the word epic in there, but they're not about time. That we'll get to. But the first one, it's fascinating when people ask me, when did you decide to write a book? Because the answer is never. And the reason I say that is, I went for my MBA in the year 2005, which was nearly 20 years back. And as an MBA student, so much was happening to me on a daily basis that I have to document this somewhere because I will forget all of this. So I started a blog. And that blog still exists. I write every single day, and I have for the last 18 years. So for the last 18 years, I've been writing a blog without fail. I love it. Less than 200 people know of this blog. You are the 201st one. Most likely you will not go and check it out, and that's completely fine because I don't write for anybody. I just write for myself. So when Chiki Sarkar, who's the editor at Juggernaut and the one who published my first two books, she and I were on a stage together, just like Anjana, and we had a really good conversation and so on. And then she walked off the stage and she's like, "You have a lot of books in you." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Because I just felt that was a very salesy thing to say. Maybe she's just trying to sell me a book and whatnot. And then she sat me down. It's like, "No, you have so many stories and you narrate them in a certain way and so on. I think you should write a book." And I frankly never paid any attention to it. But as the public persona grew and the content grew, a lot of people started asking, "Are you writing a book? Are you writing a book? And are you writing a book?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" So I went back to Chiki and says, "Hey, you were the first one who saw something in me, which was a book. So I'll write one. But I've been writing for the last 18 years, so I'm not going to sit down and write a book." And that's what it is. All the three books that I've written so far, I've not written them. They have been written on their own for the last 18 years. I've just curated them, compiled them, structured them, gave it a certain rhythm. And that's what you're seeing in that form. So I love that journey. Whenever people say, "Hey, how do you become an author?" I like, write every day. That's the best way to become an author. Because if you write every day, there will be a book that will come out sooner than later.
Amazing. Okay, let's keep our questions very short because I want to have as many questions as possible from the audience.
Perfect.
Please.
There was, the lady there, and then, sir, you here. And then we'll come to you too.
Good afternoon.
I can see you.
Yeah. Okay. So, what would be your advice for someone who is in their 40s?
Like me.
Yeah, like me also.
Okay, around?
So, who wants to become an entrepreneur at this age?
Just start.
Yeah.
Just start. That's my advice. There is no other advice. Just start. Look,
But you're in a safe job and you don't want to.
Well, now you're talking. Because that context will always be there. So look, when people ask this question, and the question is a very honest one, so I fully appreciate it and understand that. The answer is obvious to you. You don't need me to give you that answer. Just start. Hey, how do I lose weight? Well, just eat right and show up at the gym. Hey, how do I take care of my money? Well, start investing. Hey, how do I become more disciplined? Create a schedule and stick to it. We all know what to do. We all know what to do. We're just scared to do it because of XYZ reason. In your case, you admitted maybe the safe job. No, at 40, you have perhaps responsibilities and you feel responsible for other people, including yourself. There will be hajar other things. And then the question will not be about how do I? The question is, why do I? And that's the distinction. Because the how is known, and the day you know your why, the how will be instantly obvious to you. The why needs to be answered. So if you want to become an entrepreneur, my question to you is not do XYZ. My question to you is, why do you want to become an entrepreneur? And that's an answer you don't have to give me. You have to give yourself. Because if you think that entrepreneurs will make more money than you make in your job, you're wrong. If you feel that you hate your life and you want to escape that to become an entrepreneur, you're wrong. If you want to become an entrepreneur because everyone else wants to become an entrepreneur, you're wrong. So if you have the wrong reasons to become an entrepreneur, you'll be miserable even when you become one. And you'll just be as uncertain as perhaps you are today. But if you really know your why, then the how will be distinctly clear the second you hit it. So know your why. Sit with yourself, find that out. Why do I want to become an entrepreneur? What about it appeals to me? What is my driving motivation for doing that? The answers will emerge. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Right here.
Every time you do a new activity, I say, shit, man, this guy again. I have been reading your books, newsletter, videos, say you name it, I have been there.
Thank you, man.
Okay.
Thank you. I love you.
Now, what I have been trying to follow a lot of what you do, okay, I get overwhelmed. Every single time I try to do one thing, I get again overwhelmed because there's a lot of opportunities flowing in. I try to build a routine, again this thing comes in. So how do you manage this, doing everything? You have books, you have newsletters, courses, videos, and now you have an app too, Epic Crew, I guess. So how do you do all these things?
Because I do them one by one, I don't do them at the same time. What you see is years of doing one thing at a time. So you're seeing me in a moment of time with all of those things. But I have seen myself with one thing first, then another, then another, then another, being supremely patient with the thing working out, or me realizing it's not, so stopping and not working on it anymore. I go back to the Warren Buffett, Bill Gates thing. It's not just about money. Nobody wants to achieve things slowly. People are always in a hurry. So I get the sentiment that you want to do a lot, fully on board, but don't put any pressure on you in trying to do all of that in one go. Build a routine, start investing, get great relationships and friends, kick at your work, blah, blah, blah. Because that's just unfair. You don't even know whether you're doing it the right way or not. Pick the most important thing, do it well, find the rhythm where it's become predictable, so you don't have to dispense a lot of energy in trying to get that done. It just happens by itself, irrespective of the outcome, but the input is natural. And once the input becomes natural, move to the next input, and the next input, and the next input. That's my only advice. Right. Great. You there, and then, ma'am, you here. The one who had his hands raised. Are you asking a question? Yes.
Hi, Ankur.
Hi.
This is Vinit here. So I have always seen you are putting up minimalistic views, etc. So I sometimes think like a developing country like ours, like minimalism is kind of considered miserly in a way. Like it's more of like, I know like in a developed country it is considered better, but here I see like if you are a minimalism, this is a guy who doesn't like to spend money rather than a guy who is going for a better way of life. So what is your thought on that?
My thought is you do you. My thought is you do you. And it's absolutely fine. So my inherent personality is not to show off. One, because I don't have much to show off, but two, even if I did, I don't. Like if I and I'm only saying this to make a point. If I travel business class, I will not be clicking a selfie. I certainly would not be. Like I will not be clicking a photograph of the well laid out table, 30,000 feet above the ground. Nothing of that. Like that doesn't appeal to me because that's not in any way adding to who I am as a person. So I would much rather click the photograph of the book that I'm reading than anything else. But there are people at the other extreme as well. The key here is don't do anything that is not naturally you, because then you will struggle to fit in. So what I do is just naturally me. It's not like I want to click that selfie on a business class flight, but I'm resisting. No, I actually don't feel like clicking it at all. And that is absolutely fine. So I don't have to pretend to be somebody else. But if you really want to show your Maybach and you really want to show your iPhone 15 Pro Max, whatever, please go ahead and do that, because that is naturally you and it will come across as authentic. Great. One question from here, the lady right at the front of
in the front.
Front.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
I've been following your videos since a really long time.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask you one question. If you want to work on a passion project, it definitely requires corpus. So, but right now, if you're working on a job which is not interesting and which is draining your energy, how to keep yourself motivated so that you generate that much corpus? So after that, you can just quit what you're doing, which you dislike, and then continue to your passion project. Because that determination is always short-lived. Because when you are working for something which you really don't like, for a prolonged period of time, you can't continue. So what is it that we can do to continue and keep us motivated?
Okay, so I'll break it into two questions, and I will answer this right away because I think we're getting started for the next session. So number one, anybody who tells you quit your job to follow your passion is giving you the worst possible advice. Don't ever do that, ever. Because if you quit your job to follow your passion, you will give away what is very important, and that's financial stability. So the pressure of making money will come onto your passion from day one. And you don't want that. Why do you want that? It's like a toddler born and you instantly tell the toddler you have to run the Olympics. Not going to happen. They will fail and you will feel disappointed. So please don't do that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Our time is over. Thank you very much, Ankur. It is a pleasure hosting you. And thank you for teaching us that instead of saying Mere paas maa hai, we can say Mere paas millions hai, investments hai.
Thank
so
you.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.